Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title, it's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the content capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing@wsncc.com or WhatsApp 68-61662 and start building your future.
WESN.
One of the things that I said last week was, I guess we need to appreciate the people that we have here in TNT while we have them. One of the things I find interesting is when I look back at the iconography of yesteryear, at how certain people are remembered, and to whatever degree they have been chronicled, they have been recorded, and perhaps with the living memory slowly fading as time goes by, it won't quite be the same. But I have a sense of the people of yesteryear providing something intangible to the nation, which I feel, and this could be the price of progress, but you don't easily get that with new generations. You get something new, and the problem is a human being can only be so many things, can only have so much personality, and is limited to essentially one personality. You know, they can only have so many philosophies that they operate under. So in order to get something new, invariably you do have to sacrifice a bit something of the old. And the key is to know what to sacrifice. And I said that last week because we had a situation where 2 Calypsonians passed away, 2 older Calypsonians, obviously. So at the very least, it's not young composers from some unnatural means, anything like that, but it's still a tragedy in its own right. And of course, we had the situation with Karen where, well, at some point, a lot of people saw the video from the broadcast, which didn't really offer much information because the people who she was with, they were more concerned about treating her situation than continuing the broadcast. So that happened last week, and now, almost as if to kind of show, look, this is how easy things could have been different. You see in the news, and it seemed very sudden, generally speaking. Senator Lindsey Graham, 71 years old, brief and sudden illness, which implies they were taken by surprise with whatever the situation was. And I'm not here to say that Senator Graham was a good politician, bad politician, good human being, bad human being, good American, bad American. What I am saying is, regardless of what you think of him, just look how quickly and suddenly he's gone. And it might not matter to you, but if you're watching the show, I think it might. We have to be very grateful that it wasn't our colleague. Now, I spoke to Karen last night, and again, I could reiterate the point. It's not a heart attack. It's not a stroke. She's okay. One of the things that she was very adamant about is wanting to express her gratitude for everyone that helped her in that situation. Starting, of course, again with the people of the ZM Network Limited, who I believe is the company that produces the program that she was on. I want to get the name to attribute it. So this is with Zalisha Budusing Rupani, Conversations with Zalisa. So starting with her team and the team of Real TV, because their quick response to seek treatment for Karen, but she also very much wanted to give her appreciation to the staff, to the people at Mount Hope. That's where she was taken. She was very adamant, the level of professionalism, the level of care, not just for her. She saw the staff also working with the same level of professionalism, courtesy, diligence with other people around her in the moment as well. And the whole situation felt basically from beginning till end that she was well taken care for, and she's very much appreciative, and she wanted that expressed publicly so that people will know, because I guess it's in a way, you can't take the sense of duty out of the lady even when, you know, she's going through a minor situation. She wanted people to understand, yes, we could bash the public healthcare system, but at the very least, in her experience, she could say, this part of it here, this is pretty good, not just pretty good, very good. And she was very much appreciative of it. And I guess if it was a heart attack, you know, she takes a lot more comfort that if it was something that serious or more serious, that she would have gotten the best care possible, given the best chance. So, on behalf of WSN, I guess, and on behalf of Karen, that's one of my missions this morning, is to say that publicly so that the staff of Mount Hope understands that there's at least somebody who appreciated their efforts when they were working last week Thursday. And dare I say, all of us appreciates their efforts, appreciates the efforts of Ms. Delisha and her team and her production house and media house for taking care of our colleague Karen Shishera. Because like I said, in Trinidad and Tobago, at least for those of us who care for her and do not see her in any sort of antagonistic light, we are relieved. In the United States, those who care for Mr. Graham, unfortunately, they are not so relieved. And that's how easy things could take a turn. We kind of take it for granted. Oh, well, you know, you're a commentator, you're an analyst, you're a politician, you're a lawyer, you work in an office. Yeah, it's whatever. You know, you should be okay, you should be safe. There's nothing dangerous about it, but at the end of the day, that's not life. Life could take a turn. You don't always have to know why. And we should appreciate who we have while we have them, as been brought up before, I believe, on Talking Point in the past. You know, to what extent is it a shame if you have to wait for the passing of someone to then show appreciation, for then all the nice things to come out, as opposed to, well, but if you appreciated them so much, can't you tell them when they're still around? So, I'll just say this. It's not as though she's in any danger, but it's a situation where she's going to take some time, a week or two from the show. When she's ready, she'll be right back into providing the analysis, the commentary on the issues, the objective, as much as some people might not think it, commentary, to try to dig deep into the truth. But, you know, Karen can get quite passionate about what she does, and it does actually take a lot of energy. If you're authentic with what you're saying, with your positions, with what you're trying to put forward to the public, it can be draining at times, psychologically, emotionally, you know, even physically. So she's going to take some time to rest and recuperate from what happened, and she'll be back soon, not too soon. So with that said, I'm going to switch gears now. Quite a lot of things have happened, or new things, new angles have popped up. One of the things, of course, is, and I've seen this particularly with regards to social media videos. Now, I haven't necessarily looked at the whole video, but there's a situation with the lease, the land deal, or what have you, right? Ironically, the accusation is, well, they rushed this lease and they get 2015 valuations, I believe it's 2015, as opposed to current valuations. Now, I'm not an expert, I don't know what's going on, I just have to ask this. It seems as though it was a situation where the lease had a 15-year renewal option when it expired in 2020. They acquired the leaseholder's business in 2006. Senator Mark, at the time when he brought this up, says it was some sort of secret deal, whatever. Now, it was somewhat controversial with regards to constructing a soft drink factory on the premises. Now we know that it's a water bottling facility, water purification, I assume, and bottling facility, right? So there were questions with regards to the transfer, the lease agreement terms, etc., etc. Now, from what I understand, if you're questioning the valuation granted, the thing is, this seems to be a situation that the owners of Blue Waters wanted resolved since 2010. Now, potentially, if they were able to sort out the leases between 2010 and 2015, what would the terms have been? And apparently, it seems that for multiple governments, they got promises and assurances that formal leases would be granted, and therefore they continue to invest in the endeavor. It doesn't seem that those promises and assurances were rescinded during the time of the People's Partnership. So then, in fact, the first set of assurances could have even come from the partnership, although he bought the business that had the lease for the area, I think just before the beginning of Mr. Manning's last term, so that would have been at least 2 years of Patrick Manning held government, then you go into the partnership. So, all right, He was relying on promises and assurances of former leases to be granted. So in theory, one could argue he has a reasonable expectation that this lease is not going to be hanging over his head until 2026, while valuations are rising, because property never, generally speaking, depreciates. It always appreciates. That's why property as an investment is viewed so beneficially, so financially profitable. So dare I say, him getting a valuation that is from an earlier date when the values are less might even potentially be, depending on the terms of the leases that he's going to take, might even in a way be unfair, depending on the lease that he was going to sign. I don't know what the terms could be. I don't know if he could have gotten a good deal, if the government agreed to that, that would have lasted all the time through, in which case you couldn't have used 2026 valuations back then, right? So part of this I also have to question is, did the PNM just, they were taking their time because the last PNM AG, Camille Robertson Regis, is saying it was a rush. Now, the sad truth of the matter is, she actually might be right. Whether it is government bureaucracy, and who knows, maybe there was some kind of corruption that, similar to what Minister Alexander uncovered in immigration, maybe someone was trying to slow roll the process. Ironically, I mean, I'm not saying this is true or that you should believe this to be true. I'm just saying it's possible. Maybe Mr. Hadi didn't try to get any favors to get it done faster. I don't know. You know, between the politics and the bureaucracy, seems as though he was being slow-rolled for 15 to 20 years, or what have you. So in a way, it might not have been rushed per se, as in start to finish rush. It might have been rushed in the sense of, we should have gotten this done a while ago, and now, not necessarily smartest thing in the world, we're going to try to rush the completion. That could have been it too. I don't know. I just find, once again, it's rather convenient. Because I wonder, as I mentioned before, 2 days after a pre-action protocol letter is sent, he is arrested on conspiracy to murder the Prime Minister. Now, if you can look at the situation and potentially think, maybe he shut off his mouth saying wild dotishness because he was upset with a government that is continuing to put him through the ringer. And trust me, I kind of know what that feels like. Because I have a family member that similar happened to them. And it didn't matter what government was the government of the day, but politics still affect you, whether you wanted to or not, whether you had anything to do with the politics or not. So now it seems, potentially, if you look at it from one potential perspective, I'm not saying it's the actual truth, I'm just saying it might be true. They have a situation with a lease. They're upset, not necessarily on the same level, obviously, as Mr. Samru, but they didn't say this publicly. They said this somewhere outside or away from the public, and yet we have such great intelligence. Probably an expression of their anger over the overall situation. And the problem is, first of all, what the government has revealed does not necessarily provide an alternative that could easily push back against such speculation. And such speculation has already happened by members of the public. Right? It has already happened. And not because I told them to have it. I'm saying they had it. I heard it, so I know that they had it. Because again, if they are involved in some conspiracy to murder senior government officials, I think the one thing that we could all agree on is it's probably not just the three of them alone. One of them is the trigger man, one is the getaway driver, and one is, I don't know, whatever you need. It's probably not the three of them going to do it. They probably, for it to really be a conspiracy, there will be someone else involved. No one else was triggered by a PDO. What about all of the other threats against members of high office, threats against their life, threats against a minister that you have to rush into a police station? Nobody was picked up on PDOs. But we pick, conveniently, after they've moved ahead with a pre-action protocol letter, we picked up the Hadids. And no one else in this conspiracy. No one else in this grand conspiracy. Now the government has allowed, they have allowed potential speculation and the narrative that trumped-up charges can be utilized against members of the business community in order for the government to get what it wants. What do they want in this situation? I don't know. Because on some level, I don't think it's going to be easy to go into a civil court and make an argument to a sitting magistrate or judge or what have you that, yes, the government should just get back all the land Blue Waters is on and Blue Waters should be wiped clean, or that the state should somehow take possession of Blue Waters. If they actually try to do something like that, that will kill all private investment in this country, period. End of story. It will make everything that the Minister of Finance said about investor confidence in this country a complete and utter lie. They might try to justify it with regards to politics. That don't matter. That would be utterly ridiculous. And I don't know if this is incompetence or desperation that they started, whatever the process is that they started, but overall it looks ridiculous. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that you don't necessarily know if you're being lied to, but the suspicions comes about when people are inconsistent. So the situations with the threats against the government have not been consistent. You've had intelligence on all these threats. You have not detained people for all these threats. Are we supposed to expect that the initial threats are over? That the initial threats no longer exist? That is, to some extent, the implication of how the government has communicated things to us. Because as they have reenacted state of emergencies because of threats against the government, let's put it this way, the Hadids, they weren't threatening the government last year. No, it is said that this happened all this year. So was it, what changed between then and now? Well, we know that an alleged gang leader who has alleged ties to the Minister of Defense, he's no longer alive, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But is that it? Was he the threat? Because if he was the threat, if you was able to identify him as the threat, then why didn't you detain him under PDO to deal with the threat? And the business community sees these things, you know. They see these things. So the whole situation is a mess. And the whole situation does not look good because the government has not been able to communicate properly with what's going on. Right? So now, when the PNM says this is all a distraction, dare I say that is correct. It is hard not to interpret it that way because, and let me go into why I think it's a distraction first, at least the basics. When the PNM was in office, what was some of the things we questioned? Well, how are you going to sustain recurring expenditure in the national budget year after year with debt financing? How are you going to do that? And if you get foreign debt, yes, you get a 2-for-1 benefit on the inflows. You get foreign exchange, which you could put into the system, and then use the TT value that you get back to pay your own expenses, right? The problem is, you have to pay that on the back end. You have to get the foreign exchange on the back end to pay back the loan or the bonds when they mature or what have you. So we questioned that. And then the opposition also questioned that. Question not about the PNM government, about all loans. What about the HSF? Because the HSF, then Minister Cormier kept saying, oh, well, the HSF is 5 billion. Look how good the HSF is doing. The investments made this much money. But the HSF was not growing. The rainy day fund stalled, and to say that, oh, look how great it is. Now, it's almost as if he knew he had to be careful. He couldn't say, well, even with all the money we're taking out, it's still 5 billion. He never actually said that. But essentially, that's what it was. They were able to maintain a minimum of the HSF while withdrawing a lot of money. Yes, to deal with COVID, so on some level you understood. But then post-COVID, between the foreign loans and the HSF, the problem with the HSF is, as I said, you can't use that as import cover. You can't use that as your collateral for foreign loans and use that as your reserve to deal with your operating expenditures. Now, it seems as though the current government, they've already said, and they've also brought up the HSF, I believe, with the past PNM administration. What have they done? Where have they found the money? The mythical, because on some level, this is why Stuart Young asked, where are you going to get the money to do all these things? Because he knew we got money from loans and from the HSF, and people blamed us, criticized us for doing so. So where are you going to get the money? Where is the money going to fall from? The sky? Well, the government got the money in 3 ways. From the taxes and fees, loans, and the HSF. There was, I believe, at least at one point, particularly when property tax and the like came up, and there were rumors about public utility rates going up under the PNM and all of this jazz, where then opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar, I could be wrong about this, she either pulled out the line or something similar to the effect of, you can't tax a nation into wealth. And then her administration warns against raising taxes in these hard economic times, warns against taking out too many loans that makes you in an unsustainable financial position when you're taking out loans for recurring expenditure, warns against taking money out of the HSF, does all 3 things when they're in government. That's where they're going to find the money. What is the answer? We're going to do seemingly the exact same thing the PNM did, that we and all. It's one thing if people like me criticize PNM and they said nothing. They didn't say nothing. They brought it up. How are you going to find the money? We'll do some of the very same things people took issue with the previous government that helped get them voted out of office. But do not pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Nothing to see here. It's better when we do it. When we do it financially, it's just magically more responsible. Because when you have a bachelor's in economics, you have advanced math. You have advanced math that people with their masters in economics and PhDs in economics, they don't have this. No. Only people with bachelors in economics, they have advanced math. 2 + 2 = 5. They could find money that otherwise would not exist. The secret, of course, is that 2 + 2 + 1 from your pocket = 5. The money did exist. It didn't come from thin air. It came from your pocket. Whether from your sovereign wealth fund, from your disposable income where you have to pay more taxes and fees, or from your future when these loans have to be paid back. On top of all of the drawdowns that the PNM did, all of the loans that the PNM's had, all of the taxes already instituted, or increase in fees, like the reduction of the fuel subsidy. Because remember, they never refunded the unethical PNM property tax. Oh, no. I mean, it's not that different from, I don't know, just saying, well, I know it's blood money from gangs, but we deserve it, right? Now, granted, if the state used criminal proceeds, sure. But I'm talking about if you decided as a police officer, no one could account for this, wouldn't that be wrong? I mean, you have now economists basically having to do some of the same things that they did last go around with the last administration. Greater transparency from the government after the latest HSS reports, with more than $500 million US withdrawn over a 6-month period. So if you average that out in a year, that could average out $1 billion a year. We can't sustain that. We can't. I don't know if the wealth management decision makers, the fund managers, they could sustain that. It's possible. They've done it before. They've earned more than that in a year before. But it all depends on the American economy. So you have that going on. And I guess now, oh, look, we're going to go into Balize House and investigate that, because there has to be something there. Because how could you build a building with raffles and cake sales? Don't mind the fact that that building is taking forever to build, which very much on some level implies, well, if there is corruption money, they sure are taking their sweet time. I don't know if that's the best way to, maybe it is, but I don't know if that's the best way to launder ill-begotten gains, to be honest. I've never seen corruption on the cheap. But all right, they want to go into the funding. The Minister for Homeland Security, he told a joke. It was reported in news. His joke, the punchline was the investigation. After we have called out Balize House, after we have said we're going after white-collar corruption, we as any government, not saying the commissioner has an initiative to go after these things, we are going after. Then the Minister Alexander, he got up on a comedy stage and said that the investigation into Balize House is being conducted independently and has nothing to do with politics. Nothing whatsoever. Don't mind the fact that it was made a political issue, I believe, in Parliament, protected under parliamentary privilege for however long. It has nothing to do with politics, though. No. No. The members of cabinet were given access to an ongoing investigation that nobody else was told about, so that they could talk in Parliament about these things before the investigation is announced. It's completely independent. Look how much information they're revealing about independent investigations. All of a sudden, they're not concerned about affecting the validity or the outcome of an investigation, which will then potentially, supposedly, you would hope, lead to some sort of criminal proceedings in court. I guess they're not concerned about having any undue influence on those proceedings with whatever they say in Parliament, with whatever they said about Balize House before this, but the Prime Minister said nothing to do with politics, because Minister Alexander, the paragon of virtue and transparency and truth, you know, so much so that he tried his hardest. He tried his hardest to make the service more transparent. And when I say tried his hardest, everything possible to prevent you from seeing any sort of transparency whatsoever in terms of 21st century standards. Because he doesn't want body cameras. As far as I'm aware, I don't think he ever really said anything positive about body cameras. And the excuse for not getting them shouldn't really fly with any concerned citizen. You just took $5 billion from the HSF. You can't afford body cameras. You got $250 million from your fees over the course of 6 months and taxes. You can't afford body cameras. Why don't body cameras? And if you can't be transparent, and put things in place to potentially protect the innocence of officers who you have indirectly or directly defended, so you leave them in a vulnerable position, and then we're supposed to just believe you because you say this? And the thing is, this is not how it works. You saying this, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, is completely meaningless. A member of cabinet is saying that an ongoing investigation into the opposing political party has nothing to do with cabinet. And it goes back now to what potentially is the minister's ideology on investigating police. That is to say, transparency, accountability for these things. Are we to assume that he doesn't care? Because the results of how he operates does not display that. I know the commissioner fired a set of people. That's its own kettle of fish. I'm going to laugh if any of them successfully sue the state and win. Right? Because this is the regime of shortcuts. We are taking shortcuts to everything, and potentially, the legacy of Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar might be, when it's all said and done, the most amount of lawsuits against the state due to poor policy decisions by her government. She might hold it. She might hold it. We're not an old country, so the bar might not be that high. She might hold it, and she might set that record to an unreachable point between state of emergency lawsuits and whatever we might get from Mr. Samaru for his detention, or whatever we might get for the Kayasili situation overall. If they can't find her guilty, if they don't have enough evidence to convict, we have to wait and see on that. The Hadid situation, and so on and so on. There are other businessmen, even the gangsters, because you're trying to take shortcuts. All of the HR issues that you're now exacerbating, which probably also might slowly but surely undermine the TTPS's HR position. If you have however many lawsuits already stacked against you, and now this round of firing, based on what we know, could be wrong, maybe there's more that we don't know, because of course, with this regime, both government and TTPS executive, transparency is not an operating principle. So here's the thing, this whole thing about investigating Balize House. How did they win the election? They didn't win the election. You see, there was some of us, whether we voted for the UNC or not, who hoped positive change, a turnaround in the economy, more responsible crime-fighting measures. That's what we were hoping for, right? But for the most part, how did they really win the election? They won the election by successfully seeing the PNM being voted out of office, seeing the PNM being made the villain. And when all you have is vote them out of office, vote for me in order to vote them out of office, vote for me to defeat them, when all you really have of substance is they're bad, get rid of them, you have nothing to follow up with. Your campaign is not predicated on your excellence, on your ability, on your merit, on your principles, on your character, on your values or your ethics. Your campaign is predicated on the other guy is worse. And when you get into office now, what do? Because you might find out that you're not good enough. You can't actually do better than the other guy. You do the same things. You get the foreign debt in order to pay recurring expenditures that you've made more expensive. You withdraw money from the HSF. You increase taxes and fees. All of the things that you criticize while in opposition. All. Because you can't actually be better than the other guy. Your communication policies and procedures and practices are worse. Your financial policies are just as bad. Then you have the whole SOE PDO thing hanging over the public's head at this point. So what do? Because you can't win in a debate of ideas or values. You're losing that. It's almost like if they're conceding that. It's almost like if, whether they're doing it consciously or not, they figured out, well, we're not actually able to win in the debate of ideas, because it doesn't matter how bad their ideas are, slowly but surely, our ideas are proving to be just as bad. The more we implement, the more we expose, we don't know what we're doing. So what do? That's all the source of your problems. And here's the thing, there might be corruption there. But right now, in this moment, going after the corruption in the PNM right now, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done if it exists. No, it should be done if it exists. But right now, for the people that are having a hard time affording food to feed their family on a day-to-day basis, dealing with PNM corruption from the past is not going to change the price of bread. So I don't have an issue doing it, but what are your priorities? Because why does it seem as though this is your priority? And you might say, Sean, it's not their priority. They're doing all these things. Hey, whatever they put their public communications behind, to me, that's a politician's priority. On all of these other pie-in-the-sky promises, I'll believe it when I see it. How's that noise pollution promise from the Prime Minister looking? What about all of the stand your ground stuff? You got that firearm you applied for yet? How's that looking? Because one of the things I try to tell people when that campaign promise was made is, whoa, even if they try to get everybody that wants a gun, even if the commissioner had that mindset, they still have to go through the paperwork. It ain't going to be that easy. Lo and behold, the PNM, the UNC appointed a commissioner that is going to act like IRLA. As few guns I can put in the system, the better. In part because I am subconsciously conceding the fact that I don't know how to deal with a legal gun situation that has not gone out of control. We have zero reports in the media, to my understanding, of people with their legal firearms committing crimes. So I don't know what the priorities are, but apparently now, if we go after the PNM for Balize House, we will magically solve all your problems. And by all your problems, I mean all the UNC's problems, because if you eliminate any alternative to their government, they probably think we will retain power in perpetuity. Not too dissimilar to what the PNM might have thought, you know, for the last 10 years, up until the end maybe. The funny part about it is, if you remove the PNM, if you successfully slay the dragon that is the PNM, look at what happened in Tobago. The PNM successfully dealt with the other party, TOP, and whoever else. And then eventually, that gave room for something completely brand new to come onto the scene. The PNM slayed their opponent, but the new guy slayed them. So yeah, you spend all your time, bad governance, going after a PNM in opposition. Do that. Cool. I'm not saying don't hold them to account, but why is it looking as though you're making it into this big thing to distract us from your lack of ability, lack of results? And then if magically you're successful, and then on top of that, we do have to speculate now, are we going to see emergency powers used against PNM? Because that will just make the eventual backlash and consequence all the more likely, and that is, whatever comes after the PNM, if you successfully slay that mythical dragon, you're going to get something new. You're going to get something new that is not chained to the past, that is not chained to the mistakes of their predecessors, that's not going to be chained to the operating procedures that has its deficiencies. You're going to get something new. You might see a capacity for new young politicians who you don't have any dirt on, who you can't talk the same usual talk and insult them in front of the public and convince the public it's more of the same. You'll make a whole new animal to come after you. And who knows, just like what the TPP did to the PNM, some new cat might do that to you. But no one ever accused, well, to be frank, either side of strategic thinking. I mean, if the government was capable of strategic thinking, they would know not to waste their time going after certain politicians who are liabilities for their own party. They would know to leave those people right where they are to continue being long-term liabilities, stones around the neck of Penelope Beckles. But no. In their short-sightedness, they're like, let's go after him or her or him. And potentially, if successful, deal with a problem for Penelope. At some point, she'll just say, I tried. All right. Is the SP here? Right. Okay. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have the SP with us. This is talking about the WSN show. Michael Small. We'll be right back after this.
Something very important, there is an intrinsic neurotrophic factor that is released through myokines, that is some peptides that we have in our muscle that produce neuromodulation and increase that peptide in the brain to increase the neurocognitive of the brain.
I'm glad you said that. Right. So exercise has an important part to play in the aging brain. As we get older, our gray matter does shrink. We have reduction of synapses, but exercise is shown to actually improve our cognitive functioning.
Totally.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
In this day of stay-at-home and work from home, home has never meant more than it does today. Whether you're looking to buy, rent or build your new home, now is the time to get going. Gittins & Gittins real estate agents are here to take you to that place of your dreams. Let us take you home. We help you find that rental to rest along the way or journey with you to find your home destination. Investors and commercial enterprises too, call us and we'll walk the distance to place your business in just the right location. Owners, leave the headaches to us. We'll find your tenants or buyers while you stay at home. We'll even manage your property at your bidding. Anything real estate, come home to Gittins & Gittins Real Estate. Call us at 760-3280 or 747-1220 or visit us at 16 Fifth Street in Woodbrook.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the content capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing@wsncc.com or WhatsApp 68-61662 and start building your future.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing@wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
I'm back here and talk about the WSND Chronicle show. Michael Small, joined by acting SP Christopher Arun here once again, this time in studio. Welcome back.
Good day, Sean. Good day to you.
Good to see you.
Good day to you.
Wonderful morning we're having.
Yeah,
nice and not warm. Yes, lovely weather, right?
Weather.
Yeah, you. Let me guess. Lovely weather. You wish you didn't have to get out of the bed this morning.
No, I like. As I say, I like to work. So
That is true.
I accommodate any weather.
I have known workaholics, right? I know workaholics.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met someone quite like you who seemingly you just love to run yourself into the ground.
No. It's a duty. It's your duty. You have to come and do your duty, get the job done, get the information out there. It's about educating members of the public. At the end of the day, we want them to know that there are members of the police service that are equipped and are able and bodily able to reach them out there and get the information out there. At the end of the day, it's about educating persons.
You know how you solve whatever problems you think we have with law enforcement? You get a startup, a medical startup. You get his DNA samples.
Right.
You pump out the clones, right? Like that movie Oblivion, you plump out an army of Christopher Ruins. Yeah, job will be done. Don't know how ethical it will be for the clones of Christopher Ruin, but the job will get done.
Yeah.
Now, that's the joke. Now on to the real topic.
Yeah.
And I guess this is maybe a good continuation from last week. We were speaking about kids in general.
Yeah.
But now on some level, it's not necessarily only for kids.
No.
But one of the, I guess you could say, concerns that the police would have would be with regards to the kids that might get involved in this, whatever the source might be, recreational drug use, because when the cat's away, they might so play.
Yeah, especially teenagers, young adults. We're seeing instances and cases where it's this time of the year. One of the times of the year, we have multiple times during the year, where we'll have house parties and like for Carnival and for Christmas, you'll have the use of narcotics and alcohol. This is one of the times of the year, July, August, summer vacation, as we call it. We have a lot of kids away from school, on break from probably university and whatnot. And we find that there are cases where they attend parties or they use recreational drugs like marijuana and cigarettes and alcohol, but they mix it with other things like Molly and cocaine and ecstasy and whatnot. And even mixing alcohol with any drug, whether legal or illegal, it does hamper their cognitive ability. You know, it makes them liable to being abused. And we want our young people to avoid using any drugs at all, whether it be cigarettes or marijuana, and mixing with anything like alcohol or cocaine or whatever, because it is detrimental to their health. And we are advising members of the public, especially the children and teenagers, young adults, stay away from these drugs, including the recreational ones.
One of the things I find interesting is I do wonder on a topic like this if internet culture is actually leaving young people less informed. Because, well, I know a friend of mine, he lived a few years in the States, that DARE program where they were like, this is your brain on drugs, and they put the egg in the frying pan.
Right, yeah.
Like, he didn't just see it on TV. He was in the States for some amount of time.
Right.
So he got it firsthand, and he was like, that scared me straight. I never even considered it for his entire life.
Yeah.
But even just watching basic TV where they would have storylines about kids with drugs, so you kind of learn some stuff. But now with internet culture where you're watching a streamer, you're watching a YouTube channel, a lot of times these individuals, they themselves have very limited life experience.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily getting the kind of storylines, you know, because you learn from fiction to some extent. That's how we did it before. So I do wonder if for young people, it might be, even with the internet, if they aren't seeking out information about drugs and the risks of drugs, it might be easy for someone to say, hey, you want to have a good time?
Right. Yes, you have cases like that, but I'm not too familiar with the internet.
Right, on that level. Yeah.
I haven't seen any stats or reports except that.
Well, not that people will entice them on the internet,
right,
but rather because they're just watching focused content on what they enjoy,
media,
right? They're not necessarily, one of the things with even entertainment shows is they would have messages and storylines, and it might be very benign and very safe and PG, but even shows like Slave by the Bell, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, they had storylines on drugs that for the time was very hard-hitting and serious.
And they were clean shows. They were shows that were family-oriented, and you know that it brought home a point very cleanly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You may not have that now.
I mean, I wonder.
Yeah, with internet streaming, you know, children are now susceptible to watching any program. You know, long ago you had 3 stations, if so much, and you know it was pretty well guarded and policed by the parents. That you had a bedtime by a certain time, and now with social media and the streaming online programs and shows, you know, children are left to the TV to supervise.
One of the things here that in what you sent me is peer pressure is not a safety plan. And I think this is one of the things where, as a child, I think I and all could say I didn't fully understand with parents seeming obsession with your friends.
Right. No, it's,
you know, because it's like, well, we're all just kids. I don't know. But now, granted, I didn't have friends that broke the law or did drugs or anything like that, right? So I mean, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But perhaps this is one of those things where, yes, you might want to be your child's friend, but you kind of need to be a bit of a.
Yeah, well, you're seeing it more. What we're seeing more now is parents allowing their kids to smoke marijuana, indulge in these recreational drugs like cigarettes and whatnot, vape and whatnot. And, you know, it's not a harsher form of parenting, it's a softer form of parenting. But the thing with these recreational drugs, well, we call it recreational drugs, is that it opens the door to harsher drugs, right?
Dangerous drugs.
Right, so the softer drug opens the window and the doors to using or being given the opportunity to use more serious drugs like cocaine, ecstasy, Molly, and anything stronger.
Because you just need one person to hook your child on one thing, right?
So when we talk about peer pressure, we're talking about you're going into a situation where you're liming with friends, schoolmates and whatnot at a party, a house party, and it's introduced alcohol. Everybody wants to try alcohol because, you know, you're young. I mean, as a young man, I tried alcohol and I didn't go off on it and whatnot, but I knew my limits and I was responsible parenting. Because if we get caught, it's proper licks, you know, Sean. But now, I don't know if that goes on.
I mean, even when I was younger, I remember seeing a young man who I was introduced to, but it wasn't somebody I knew. And, you know, we're on the beach, and he's drunk, and it's nighttime, and it's not as though he's in the midst of adults. Now, I mean, teenagers, right? But still, I'm like, well, you're a young teenager on a beach. Everyone is... They're close, but they're still there over there. You're over here in the darkness, drunk on the beach. I'm like, this doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, I don't think our children now understand how serious all drugs are. Whether it be marijuana,
especially
alcohol.
Marijuana and alcohol. Yeah.
Marijuana, alcohol. Those softer drugs, those recreational drugs. And then even the harsher drugs like the cocaine and the molly and the ecstasy, they leave you susceptible to being abused because, and when I say abuse, I mean sexual abuse.
Right.
I mean physical abuse. I mean people taking advantage of you.
Because I guess that's one of the, I guess you could say, what, stereotypes or tropes. They'll drug you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some kind of date rape drug. It could just be a drug.
Yeah.
And then whatever comes next. And I guess part of it is, yes, you could loosen someone up with alcohol.
Right.
Then from alcohol, you go to weed.
Yeah.
You know, after one hit of weed, then it's something else.
Yeah, and it leaves you in a zone that, you know, you're not responsible for your own actions.
You're not thinking straight.
You're not thinking straight. So we would advise that you don't have it at all. I work with police officers, you know some of them, and they don't even drink alcohol. And if we go to a lime or a fete or a party, you would swear these people drinking alcohol and the kind of energy that comes from them. I'll tell you one or two other names after. And the kind of energy that comes from them, you would swear.
I kind of know the type.
Right.
I kind of know the type.
And they're more fit than anybody else.
Yeah.
And you don't need any alcohol or drugs to have a good time.
Any kind of stimulant.
But granted, children are curious. Minors are curious. They are going to try these things. It's a responsible parenting that, and you can be how responsible as an adult, as a parent. It doesn't stop a child from trying. But you need to give them that information.
I feel relaxed. The thing is, positive peer pressure can work, but I find that so tenuous, right?
Right.
And you're basically saying, oh, I trust that the people around my child will pressure them to do the right thing. It's like, no. Because, like, when you're at a party, the party is not just your child's friends. Yeah. It could be whoever gets an invite from the party host. You get one bad element.
Yeah,
that one bad element just needs to start convincing, you know, a minority. And if you don't have someone that is, and at a young age, who's going to have strong views on the matter, right? So you just slowly start to convince people, hey, so-and-so's doing it. Everyone's doing it, so it must be safe.
And one of the things parents have to understand too, Sean, you need to be responsible for your child. You give them that freedom, yes, to go to a house party in the neighborhood. You be the one to drop them off, pick them up, Sean. Don't have your kids out there in the freedom of this environment where people could take advantage of them.
One thing that I'll never forget, my father, I think, told me the first party he let my brother go to.
Right.
The one instruction, he tried to keep it simple. If you put down your drink,
don't drink.
Don't get another drink.
Yeah, get another drink,
And I think he told me that maybe before I started partying, and he might have reiterated that just a couple times. It's not like he harped on it.
Yeah.
Right? But that's something I never forgot.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Right? Because again, that could be a way where you're not even trying to be influenced or engaged.
There are people there to target you. There are going to be people there who's going to target you and have you take drugs unknowingly.
And this is not 2026.
No.
This is the 1990s or whatever. You know, this is in the past. And this is my father knowing from experience from his past.
Yeah. So as parents, I mean, all the freedom we want to give kids, let's be there for them. We want to be there for them. We want to make sure, because God forbid, I've actually had investigations where children went to parties and they were raped, and we had to take them, you know, to medical. So you as a parent now, you have to come in the situation, because a parent has to be present when we do the medical. So you know where we could have had it, where we could have had the supervision up front and avoided this incident from happening. I mean, you can't be totally free from these incidents, but as much as possible, now you have to come in at the end of the police investigation to have to witness a medical on your own child.
And rape is technically not the worst thing that could happen.
That is not the worst thing that could happen.
Now,
then they might be at a pool party, Sean. And God forbid they're intoxicated.
Yeah, because who is the responsible adult?
Who's going to watch you in the pool if you fall in the pool, you know? These
So
kind of things.
one of the things with parenting now, like as we study generation on generation, you know, one of the things with this generation is I don't want to make the mistakes of the past generation.
Right.
But then you see from that desire, new mistakes potentially being made, right? And this might be the case of, listen, sometimes being a hard, you know what, you do it for a reason. Now granted, yes, it could come across as excessive and maybe even abusive. So, it's not to say that a parent should be a strict taskmaster, but sometimes being nosy and saying, look, who are your friends? I need to meet them. What are they like?
And one of the things we are seeing is that you might be the responsible parent. You might be the one to ensure that your child is educated, well endowed with the knowledge of what to do and what not to do. And you might be the one to go and drop them off and pick them up and whatnot. But when they reach into that environment, they are surrounded by people whose parents aren't that responsible. And you have to look at that. You have to consider that at all costs as parents. Ensure that you supervise those kids. Because there are people out there who aren't supervising their kids, and you're sending them into an environment where 90% of the people aren't supervised. They're freely smoking, drinking, liming. There's nobody to pick them up. There's nobody to drop them off. There's nobody catering for them. You understand? There's nobody watching what time they're coming home. Nothing like that. And you sending them into that environment. That's 90% of that population.
I think part of it too is that with kids being so sheltered from the truth now in many ways. Like I remember Kevin Hart had a story, I believe it was Kevin Hart, where he took his kids to where he grew up.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, we want to live here. And he's like, no, I worked my whole life to get us out of here. This is supposed to be, I give you the lesson of this is where you come from. You need to work hard so that, you don't end up here. And they don't understand the negatives because they just see the cultural portrayals of the positives or what makes sense. The flip side to that is, I think it was LeVar Ball, he basically told his kids, well, because they did some minor project in the house.
Right.
Like they were putting the basketball hoop up, so they were putting the pole in the ground. They were casting concrete. 3.5 hours, he said it took, because who burst the cement bag open and got cement all over them, who did this, who did that, right? And he was like, right, so you see how hard that was just to do this one project? Now, do you want to do construction all your life, or do you want to play ball and get somewhere and work hard and get somewhere? And they were like, all right, we're going to play ball. So
the thing is, with respect to these type of house parties or environments that your child may reach into or go to, the thing is that the persons in the environment don't necessarily come from the environment. They come from outside the environment. So I've actually done investigations in Westmoreland, in Laventille, in Shogun, and they're similar in the cases where drugs are present. So you have cocaine, you have marijuana, you have pills and whatnot. So it's really, wherever you have this lime or party or whatever, the people who come into it brings the stuff into it.
But I think
so it's not necessarily where you go to.
To some extent, it's like you have to figure out a way to have your kids understand. It's not enough to just say, don't do it.
Yes.
Because someone will convince them what's the harm. You need to show them, hey.
Or unknowingly give it to them.
Right. Like this is, because in part, I think too, the stronger the message you send to every parent sends to their child, it's like herd protection.
Right. Yeah.
So that as many as possible will say, this is not a good idea, and they'll reinforce each other. And what helps that is, because I guess at some point, if you know that this is really bad, there are those individuals that I'm going to be stubborn about it. You're not going to convince me because I've seen what could happen, and I know I don't want that.
Yeah.
But for kids, you still have to show them. You can't expect them to figure that out on their own. You have to show them, hey, this is the real consequence. This is how easy it could be.
Yeah.
That you could go from fine, great life, you know, maybe you're doing good in school, good in sports, then you have one bad incident, you have a bad accident, you're out of school for 6 months, you injure your knee, your life gets derailed.
Yeah. You lose schooling, you lose that opportunity to write exams,
teen pregnancy,
teen
so
pregnancy,
then if you're in Form 5, Form 6 with teen pregnancy.
Listen, STDs are a real thing, you know. We have grown adults getting STDs for kids, you know.
Well, I mean, they say nursing homes for retirees might be one of the most.
So, you know, you have to protect yourself at all costs.
Right.
This environment out here.
Because having an STD as a teenager, that's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it's a different kettle of fish. And you don't want to find yourself in such a situation.
And then, of course, and we've mentioned this before, but it is important to say it again, because part of it is, what's the harm?
Right.
And it's not just that you're mentally inhibited, but you might not even choose to take the hard drugs because hard drugs might be in the marijuana.
Right.
Or something else.
And that's another thing. These things come mixed. So you might be smoking marijuana not knowing that it's mixed with cocaine.
Right.
Because it's about getting you hooked on it, you know.
Right.
It's about getting a customer out of this.
So psychologically, you think it's marijuana.
And then you come back to the source to get this marijuana because for some reason this marijuana made you feel better or different.
Yeah.
So you become a customer. So then you might know that the marijuana or the cocaine has, well, I don't know why anybody uses cocaine, but it has Molly or ecstasy, and it's a manufactured drug now.
I think part of the problem is, you know, in the past they didn't know how bad it was for them, right?
Yeah.
And everything was bad for you in the past, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point it became this thing where it was glamorous, right? So then now, and for young people, you know, you have this thing where, well, what my parents did is lame, so I need to trump them.
Right.
So,
and another thing too, historically, marijuana may not have been as potent as it is now. Because what's going on now is that it's being synthesized, it's being produced in areas that make it more potent. So it's concentrated. So they may be manufacturing this marijuana in a house or in a lab, as opposed to just a tree that was planted out the road or in a garden somewhere. Yeah. So now it's more potent, it's worse.
I mean,
and it causes more side effects.
I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what you see with, look, we have the Moruga scorpion.
Right.
That's not something that just sprouted randomly. No. That was, you know, effort to cultivate that.
Yeah, something stronger.
You know, that's how agriculture works.
Yeah.
It works for weed the same way, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And then, again, one of the things, ecstasy, synthetic drugs.
Yeah.
Where you, well, also, it might not just be cocaine in the marijuana. It could be something worse.
It could be something worse. Yeah.
Right? But let's just start with ecstasy, where historically that has happened.
Yeah.
And now you're saying don't mix alcohol and drugs. But then when you get to ecstasy, that could be a mix in and of itself.
Right.
You don't know what's in it.
Yeah, and ecstasy and these type of synthetic drugs causes you to basically be knocked out. So you get knocked out, you're not even aware, somebody holds your hand and they take you somewhere, and that's the end of it.
Because, again, you might have certain experiences with ecstasy, but the pill, you don't know what is the pill.
Yeah.
And this especially has always been a party drug situation because it's just a pill. It's very easy to smuggle in, smuggle out. It's not white powder that you have to put on a flat surface and snort or whatever. It's not something you have to smoke. You just pop the pill and go.
Yeah.
And the problem is the pill could be anything in it. How concerned? I don't know if we've ever talked about fentanyl in TNT.
I saw that there were cases of fentanyl, but I haven't actually come across it myself.
Because, I mean, I know that for at some point in time for Hollywood on police procedurals and medical shows, that was a big thing, right? And I was kind of shocked that, because it seemed like this kind of like made for television, super drug fiction, right? But then when you get reality, it's like, no, reality is, it kind of is that bad.
Yeah. So We have had cases of fentanyl and the rape-daped drug. Forget the name of it.
Well, which one? I think there's more than one. I can't necessarily remember.
The nickname is Roofies, I think.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we've seen cases like that often, often, and we like to see, but nonetheless, you know, we see more of the Molly and the ecstasy and whatnot.
It's just that, you know, I guess at some point, you can't take it for granted that the harder stuff is not going to hit here more.
No, it's here. It's here. And you have the pushers and users of this, of this drug.
Because I guess part of it too is, if you have your customers chasing a stronger high, you need something stronger to give them.
Yeah, and it costs more.
And it costs more, so what, right, except the risks.
Yeah.
Fentanyl has, even if you think cocaine is bad, fentanyl has even worse.
Heroin is really bad. Heroin is really bad. I think it's deadly if you try to come off heroin. Yeah. That's how bad it is.
So what, you have to like medically control?
I know that in some cases they try to wean you off, but I know if you totally stop, you would die. That's how bad heroin is.
Like just, if you try to cold take it?
Yeah, if you just stopped, you would die. That's how addictive heroin is. From the cases we've seen, they go all out to purchase heroin because if they stop, they die. That's how bad it is, yeah. You can't, I don't know how they wean off heroin. Maybe it's a difficult, long process. But I know from doing my from doing police courses about drugs, dangerous drugs, I know that they taught us that if you use heroin, you get addicted to heroin, and you try to stop, you would die.
I think, is heroin related to morphine?
I think it comes from the same drug, if I'm not mistaken, from the same poppy.
Right. So there might be ways to medically kind of like
come off,
like taper you off over time.
Yeah, we've seen cases where they taper you off, but that's the thing, they taper you off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't stop it, just like that.
Now, well, here's the thing. Do we have that facility available? Because
I think there's some. I think like, if I'm not mistaken, I think like Potter's Cottage, and there are some places that help you get off.
You know, a lot of people, they won't seek any help because they're afraid of getting caught, probably.
Yeah, I think like government-wise, you have, I think Cora has facilities that assist you. I believe so. They educate you and they try to counsel you to get off even smoking cigarettes and whatnot, so marijuana and whatnot. The use of those things. Maybe heroin,
because I think I don't think it's Portugal. It could be another European country. Or maybe a different continent, was successful in that they decriminalized drugs.
Right.
And they made it available as much as you wanted from a clinic.
Right.
The key point is you can't just take it from your dealer. You have to come to this official clinic.
Right.
Right?
Well, the reason for that, in European countries, you've seen, and they actually have parks where you can go and have the drug. So the reason for that was because of the needle sharing. So when it came to heroin, you had addicts using each other's needle.
Right.
And that was causing a lot of STDs, including AIDS. So to stem that, they said, okay, well, we'll give you the clean needle.
No, but in this
and
case,
the facilities.
I don't think it was Portugal. I think it was somewhere else.
Is a European country.
And they were able to see demand drop.
Yeah, well, maybe the demand may have dropped, but the purpose behind it
was the needle sharing.
Was the needle sharing.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing, right? Yeah. So I guess, and that's probably something else now.
Right.
That parents, you know, like, because I guess the kids don't understand. They're thinking, oh, I'll start smoking something.
Right.
And they don't necessarily understand. Yeah, that could lead to you being in some abandoned building, sharing a needle. You don't know where the needle came from, and you don't know where that needle has been.
Right.
And you don't know what that might mean. So again, this is where, unfortunately, rape is not the worst thing.
No.
So when you as a parent now, I guess, this is the part that every parent probably doesn't necessarily want to ever have to utilize. But let's just say that your child got involved in something. What is there? What are the options besides the facilities perhaps that you've mentioned? Like, what should they do? Should they go to the police one time? Obviously, there's some consideration to go into the hospital, I guess.
I think the first thing you have to do is seek medical attention to get this drug out of your system. So the health facilities would administer some kind of, now they don't generally administer any type of medicine until you come off the drug because of the side effects, the negative side effects it could have.
Right.
So imagine you were raped, God forbid you were raped, and you have this in your system, including marijuana or alcohol. You have to come off that drug before the doctor could give you administer any type of medicine. We've actually seen cases like that. So imagine that, well, you're found unconscious somewhere.
Right.
They would have to test for drugs first.
Right.
And then look at getting you off that drug, getting you stabilized, and then administering medicine. So even when you're found having taken drugs, and the first thing you may think is to go to the health facility, when you reach the health facility, they would not quickly administer drugs or medicine to you, while you have drugs in your system.
Yeah, they can't just, it's not always, because on TV, they're like, oh, get the Narcan. They're like, it's not that simple.
No.
And I guess, even if it's open, unless you have no choice, depending on severity, don't just go to like a health center.
No,
go to ER,
yeah,
right.
Go to the emergency room. And they would take care of you, have you lie down, to run some tests.
Because I guess part of it too is, say you're in that situation, now there are always those humans that somehow think if I ignore it, it doesn't exist.
No.
But for parents, one of the things is if you find your child unfortunately in this situation, the responsible thing is to have someone test to see if they were raped.
Yeah, and one of the things we've noticed too with the using of these recreational drugs is that some kids, you know, I want to use the term trip off, where they mentally can't handle this drug, and it affects them to the extent that, you know, they don't know themselves, they hallucinate. They take a while before you can get them back as conscious as possible.
Could that be in part because of, for lack of a better way to put it, the emotional trauma? A lot of kids probably never went through anything close to that. Some have, unfortunately, but for those that haven't, you know, you have a normal, you know, if this is America, stereotypical white picket fence, so you have a normal middle class or better lifestyle, maybe not upper class, right? But a normal middle class lifestyle. You go to school, you have average grades, you have average friends, you watch TV, you watch average shows, you don't do anything reckless, you don't normally do anything illegal, and then one day you're at a party, your first party, and somehow you're gonna get influenced just enough. You take a thing, and then all of a sudden you end up in having all kind of experiences that is just so far removed from your life that emotionally you can't keep up.
I'm not too familiar with the psychological effects.
Right.
Or the...
You're just talking pure chemical.
Pure chemical. Pure, you use the drug, you hallucinate, you become unconscious, people lead you away, God forbid you're killed, you're raped, you're advantaged.
Like I've heard people that have had strong marijuana. Yeah. Basically say that's the worst thing they ever did.
Right. And
that's just marijuana.
Yeah, and based on the... And I've actually had cases where people have eaten the marijuana in the brownies.
Yeah, well, it was
But because of the potency of that particular brownie that day, they hallucinated a lot. You know, they didn't know themselves.
It messes with your head.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And I guess it comes back down to why kids shouldn't drink. And
Of
then
course.
you like double underline, embolden, highlight drugs for that same thing, right?
Yeah, correct.
Ah, boy. And like you said, July, August, this is when it's a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And there's that pressure now for the parent, you know, you want to be the cool parent, you don't want to say no. Let the child go to the party, let the child do this, let the child do that.
Try not to be the cool parent.
Let the child have, you know, have the cool friend. Everyone's friends with the cool friend, everyone's doing it. Why can't I do it? And I mean, is there anyone who you know of that might better teach parents, listen, it's not just to be a hardliner, but this is how to do it constructively, and this is how to also, this is the limit.
Yeah.
Because these are the kind of mistakes where once made, there's no way. I think, and I said this recently, I was reminded of this. COVID taught me something very important with regards to health in general.
Right.
There are certain things where once it's gone, you're not recovering back to full health where you were in your 20s. right? You are trying to stave off the disaster,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is not even recovering. It's really just stabilizing and, you know, holding off, delaying,
Well,
right?
yeah.
And you don't want to start serious processes like that with a 16-year-old.
We found that social workers, people with institutional knowledge, priests, pundits, imams,
Right. Yeah.
the social workers, police officers, they generally have some information that could assist you as a parent to better school your children and whatnot. But the social workers seem to have the knack for it.
Right. Yeah, because I guess they're like very specifically dealing.
Well, they're educated in that regard.
Yeah. And one of the problems is with regards to religious leaders who trust them, who do trust them, and the kids sometimes don't always respond.
Right. To authority.
Not just to authority, but also to religious authority, I find, depending on how it's exercised.
Yeah.
You know,
you have to know your child too. Your child may not respond to authority like the police or the imam or the pundit or the priest as opposed to a social worker. We have a lot of social workers, young social workers, that seem to relate better to children.
Right.
Yeah, and get them to understand.
What would you say, because I kind of understand this with regards to some degree when in terms of drinking. But what would you say for the parents as, well, I let them do it under my supervision, so at least it's under my supervision.
Drinking.
Well, you see, in terms of drinking and whatever the potential beyond is, I don't know if they have a parent. I mean, I assume in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know any, but I assume in Trinidad and Tobago, there are parents that will allow maybe as young as 17 or 16 indulge in marijuana. Past that, I don't know.
No, we have cases where adults indulge children, very young children.
Right, letting them, yes.
Smoking marijuana.
Right, that's what I'm saying. What do you say, because there are the parents who says, well, I will let them do things under my roof because it's safe. What would you say to that? Because there's a part of me that kind of wonders, if they're too young, I don't know.
Well, it's all about the environment. So I don't condone the smoking of marijuana with young children. So it's hard for me to understand why you would do that in the first place. But for those who think it's a safe environment, always remember that they don't always consider the environment they're in. So they may go to a party in another environment, and they would say, okay, well, I'm comfortable doing it at home.
Right.
I could handle it. And most likely they're going to try it, or they're going to use it. I would never allow parents to believe that they could allow their kids or have their kids partake in any kind of drug, either alcohol, marijuana, anything like that, cigarettes, anything like that.
Now, the flip side is this, because this is the thing with kids. They do something, they get in trouble, and they don't want to reveal it.
Yeah.
And the problem is, especially if they think they can handle it.
Right.
So, because I'm seeing here, you know, there's a lot of the physical after effects or side effects of being on drugs. And as you said, when you take them to a hospital, first they have to get the drugs out of the system.
Correct.
I mean, we know can't have antibiotics with alcohol, right? And that's a very basic thing.
Yeah.
Get the drugs out of the system, then they could maybe medicate and deal with whatever physically might be wrong, injury-wise or what have you.
Yeah.
But then now, they go sneak off, go somewhere, take something, come home, run a fever, whatever else is going on. They don't want to say nothing. And I guess part of why you need to talk to your kids is also to try to get them to understand, listen, these things are serious.
Yeah.
But they're not so serious that you need to fear whatever I'm going to say, as opposed to the consequences of what's actually happening. So if you're in trouble, you need to seek help.
Yeah. So that's part of parenting. You need to have your child understand that no matter what, the consequences could be worse than the repercussions. You understand? So you lying and you're not telling me what's going on could be worse for you as opposed to me grounding you for a month or a year, whatever, or taking away a device, or prohibiting you from going outdoors and whatnot. So children need to understand, not children, sorry, parents need to understand how to get that message across, that no matter what, your child needs to tell you, communicate with you if something happens, because for their own benefit, so that we could help them. I remember telling you this case already, where for Carnival, some years back, working in St. Clair, guy took some drugs, I can't remember what it was, if it was cocaine or whatever. So he came to the station and said, listen, I just took some drugs, I mixed it with marijuana, and I had so-and-so with it, and I'm going to start to hallucinate. And I think we called the ambulance, I believe, and they came.
So, and this is a good example of he's not concerned about what the police will do to him.
No,
he correctly identified the most pressing need right now is the medical need.
Yes, and I think we called the ambulance from I remember, and they came across, and thankfully he didn't hallucinate at the station. I can't remember how that ended up.
Now, I mean, it's not just limited now to kids, technically speaking.
No, it isn't.
This is also something adults have to be concerned about very much the same risks.
Definitely, because we've seen cases. We have a lot of cases where men and women go to parties and they end up getting raped and they get sexually abused and they're traumatized and they're robbed and they're kidnapped and their vehicle is stolen and they found themselves waking up in a warehouse, as you say, somewhere under a tree somewhere. This is a real thing. This is reality we speak.
So we know with the gay dating app, it's an immediate thing of you go to meet and I guess they rob you or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But and some people might take it for granted. Oh well, that's just that dating app, right? That situation.
No, it's all.
So because there's here with regards to meeting people on dating sites and social apps.
Right.
I mean, some of the things that we've spoken about before. You go, you're meeting up, right? It could be for coffee, it could be for lunch, it could be for dinner.
Right.
You know, you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Your drink is unattended.
Yeah.
Your food is unattended.
Yeah.
I just said at the party, if you put your drink down, go get a new drink. Don't finish that drink.
Right.
I mean, you're saying they might look to steal your car.
Correct, yeah.
Right? So they might put something in the drink. I mean, it doesn't have to be the strongest of drugs. It could just be something to make you compliant.
Sleeping pills, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've had cases where people go to dating apps, they meet, as you say, for dinner, they step away, and it's socially acceptable to step away and come back and have your drink when, you know, it's not the best thing to do.
Right. You go to a bar, you meet somebody in a bar, you don't necessarily know what's in the drink. And the thing with women is culturally, and there's some young women who, they don't just, oh, I'm getting bored drinks. No. They have this goal, right? Like, you want to talk to me, you have to get me a drink. You know, like, they're milking the guys that are showing them attention for free drinks.
Right.
But the flip side is, one of those guys might not necessarily be as benign as the majority of others.
Yeah, you have to understand. All the time, you have to always think out here that somebody's always out there to target you. Whether it's when you jump in a taxi, a PH car, you're going on a date, you're going to the restaurant, you park your car in a lonely area. You always have to think like that. You always have to be, that's the mentality you have to have now.
And this might seem kind of weird and you know, he or she look for it.
No.
But in the case of, they might just say, why don't we do drug X or Y?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
introduce it.
Whatever happens, you know, all of a sudden, you're not intended to potentially risk pregnancy, but it's there now all of a sudden, right? Whether you're a woman or a man, because who knows, there might be a girl is like, hey, you want to try this, whatever, and they might undersell it. It could be weed laced with something. But the point is also, you are having sex that you didn't plan to have without any protection that you don't normally have. And then if you're a guy, you get a message a few months, I'm pregnant. Or if you're a girl, you have a decision to make, you know, on what you're going to do with this unwanted pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy. And that's, again, not the worst outcome.
Yeah. And the thing is, the worst outcome could also be rape, in the sense that you all agree to have drugs together, and then you have sex together. However, because it was under the influence of a drug or alcohol or whatever, and the person then freely, of their own free will, intentionally had sex with it, it basically is rape. So you could have legal consequences as well.
Right, you being the drug provider might unknowingly walk into legal consequences, but then also they never wanted the rape.
They may not have wanted.
They didn't want the threesome.
Under normal circumstances, they may not have wanted to have done that with you, and because you administered a drug or drink, it caused them to be in such a condition.
Sometimes I assume it's an intentional thing.
It is, but because they would not have normally done it.
Yes.
They can claim that they were raped.
No, but then there's the stereotype of, and then another person comes into the room, and you're like, what's going on?
And you okay, and we've had cases like that, where young people, including especially women, this is the cases we've had with women, where they went to have sex with one person and other persons were introduced. And because they didn't agree to that, they were persons, because they didn't agree to that, knowingly agreed to that, even the person who they wanted to have sex with was charged for rape.
Right.
Because he would have introduced a situation that the person would not have normally agreed to.
And correct me if I'm wrong, just because they spike you doesn't mean they take it.
No.
So then you could end up with, they might decide, oh, I take video and photos of all my...
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to say victims, but I'm going to say victims.
Right.
Right? So now you have a situation where you were videotaped.
Right.
You have these photos that you didn't consent to, you know, and then however they're used. So
yeah, but unfortunately our laws don't cater for criminal charges in that regard. It does cater for civil charges. So you have seen cases where persons would have transmitted or published or shared.
Right. Especially on the internet.
Right. And you have to sue them civilly.
But the thing is, you know, drugs and alcohol, but especially drugs, is what leads to that. You know, it's kind of hard to take these kind of risque media of somebody, whether video or photos, you know, that they don't consent to, if you're not, if your judgment isn't impaired by some level.
Right.
So, I guess at the end of the day, this is one of those things, and I'll end with this, and I don't know if we touched on this last week, but then there's always the risk of, because as I think last week I spoke about kids getting into the liquor cabinet.
Yeah,
right?
That's normal, yeah.
You have stuff in the house, you have drugs in the house.
Yeah, they would get into
that. Right? Prescription medication.
Yeah.
But then also too, if you do it, this is one of those things where you can't tell me not to do it and then you do it in front of me and then expect me, the child, to psychologically not to do it and have good judgment.
Yeah, correct, yeah. So you're going to have cases like that. The best thing to do is not have it in the house, not indulge in it, and therefore you wouldn't encourage your child to indulge in it.
And then of course, you want to be the best friend, they go into a party, they want to drive to the party, right? Now, you know, as opposed to, because not all young people are going to adhere to the designated driver rule.
They never do. They hardly ever do.
They hardly ever do. To be fair, I know one case where they did. Where they did. Yeah. But at the same time, that group doesn't strike me as heavy drinkers anyway. Right. So, you know, as opposed to the group of young friends who are heavy drinkers, right? So all of this you have to be concerned with. And then, of course, who has a pool? Is there a pool at the party? Is the party on a beach? You also have to be concerned about that as well. So it's a tall order for parents, unfortunately. And I guess this goes back, because I think you said this before, don't be a child's friend.
No, don't try to be a child's friend. Be their parent. Parent them, police them. Take them up, drop them off, be there with them. They're too young to be liming in these environments in any case.
Well,
maybe when they hit 21 and 25, you know.
I mean, even some of my friends who came from that environment, they're like, hey, I don't want to be liming on the block. That's not safe, right? So it's like, now granted, they reach an age where, you know, it's questionable if men of that age are going to do it. But it's like these days, it's not even about the risk of being influenced or whatever. It's just, is it safe these days to just be outside like that?
It's too risky. It's too risky to be out there just like that. It's too risky to have your child venture out into the world like that at an early age. They have time to grow up. They have time to experience these adventures.
But let me end this topic with this though, because there are some parents that they just want to isolate and insulate their child. And I think part of the problem is, well, unless your child is going to continue living with you and they'll go to university here, and you're going to pick them up and drop them to class, and they're not going to loiter in university, you know, you need to bubble wrap them. Right. The moment life gets them out of the bubble wrap, and they have that first taste of freedom, they could be 28. The point is that lack of experience means the mind just goes free, and they don't know what not to do. You still have to have all the talks even if you baby them at home, because if they go away to Canada or UK or North America, they're going to be exposed to all of that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, they are. What we've seen is in the cases of as simple as SCA, the kids who exit SCA classes, schools, primary schools, and enter secondary school at Form 1.
Right.
There's an explosion of experiments of behavior that's not within the primary school bracket.
You're a big boy and girl now.
Yeah, big boy and girl now. So you go into secondary school, and then we see a lot of reports emanating sexual activity.
Just from that.
Just from that movement, from primary school to secondary school, you see a lot of behavior, different behavior, experimenting and whatnot.
I remember my first week in secondary school, the teacher asking for volunteers, you know? Everybody eager. Everybody's a good student, right? By the time we reach Form 5, all that God has done.
You're part down by
but even within the first year, even in Form 1, you know, you kind of see that kind of die as everybody kind of settles into whatever they think their roles are. But before, when everything is new, everyone's trying to be the good student and eager beaver, and then, you know, the life experience hits, and somehow even in Form 1, within Form 1, people start to get jaded.
We see them kind of calm down by 14, 15.
Right.
And as they exit school, they act up again, and then they calm down until about 25.
It's like at each life stage, you kind of see the cycles.
You see the up and down, and by 25, you see them, they really mellow. By
Does
25.
that normally take, because I would imagine that might take some parents by surprise. They might not be accustomed to that, because to the parents, they're just like, oh, well, it's teenagers, right?
Yeah.
And they just kind of roll with the punches, not kind of understanding the effects.
It's very difficult for them to understand. I remember this case where this child, she just left primary school, entered secondary school, and she was having sexual intercourse with her classmates and whatnot. And at that time, the act
was 12, 13.
Yeah, early 12, yeah. And she was, because of the act, because of the change in the law, there was no criminal charges to anybody.
Well, it was with another 12, 13-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not
fellow classmate,
I'm not necessarily going to be too hurt up by that.
Right. So the parent felt that her child got no justice. So we did the medical. We explained the justice system and.
Oh, it was non-consensual, or it was consensual?
No, it was consensual.
Okay, right.
And the parent, for nothing, could understand that. So she didn't accept the judgment of the police in the station. So she went to another station, another department. She went to seniors, and you know we tried to explain that, and that she kept reporting the same incident 3 to 4 times, and we had to keep explaining to her, well, listen, nothing criminal was done. This is amongst peers. This is So there's a clause.
A 12-year-old cannot have more capacity than another 12-year-old.
So they call it a Romeo, and they call it a Romeo clause. So it's there in the act. It specifies that sex amongst children, and she couldn't understand.
Like, I knew that it was possible.
Right.
I remember seeing on TV show a 12-year-old that was sexually active. So like, I knew it was possible.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was common.
Yeah, it's common.
Or common at all.
Yeah, so you need to be with your child. I remember in another case, a parent couldn't take it. She really couldn't take it. She was using obscene language and
This is what's crazy, because initially when you started talking about this, I didn't expect you to go here.
Right.
Because you're talking about the adult in the situation cannot psychologically handle what happened to their child.
Yeah, kids normal.
What about the child?
No, the kids were normal. The girlfriend and boyfriend were normal.
Because my thing, girlfriend and boyfriend at 12. My thing is like, this is a thing.
Yeah.
That is a monumental milestone at 12, not at 17, 18, 19, 12. Like, what does that do to their psyche, right? Because I would imagine, and I think on part, to some extent, it has to do with cultural expectations. Because it seems as though in Latin America, they are a lot more open. and they don't necessarily suffer the negative consequences of that you would see or experience if you operated in a similar way within and from our culture. It's very weird when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
In that, because I have heard stories, don't ask me where, of a girl and her aunt working in the same brothel.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And once their legal status, visitor status is up, they move on to another country, right? So they don't overstay their welcome or what have you, right? That's how they do it.
Right.
But the point is, it's like, oh, you brought your niece into this.
Yeah. And in other countries, it's actually legal.
Right? And we don't, you know, so like there's a part of me that I personally cannot understand. Oh, you are a prostitute that brought your niece into prostitution.
Yeah.
But to them, it was like, this is normal.
This is normal, yeah.
Right? They have boyfriends and husbands at home who know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. In some European countries, the lady leaves her family, kisses her husband on his mouth, tells him have a nice evening, and goes and prostitutes. And
Right.
it's legal.
Right.
It's perfectly legal.
But the thing is, like, I think for us, because our culture is not, it's not that way. We don't understand, we don't view it that way, and we don't teach our young people to do it that way.
Right.
These kinds of things, even if it should be benign, runs the risk of having psychological consequences.
Yeah. So we had to in those cases, we had to introduce the victim and witness support unit to assist them, to counsel them and whatnot.
Because, I mean, I guess it's the case where with 12-year-olds, you just really don't know.
Well,
how
the student support services would have been enacted.
Right.
And they would have counseled those children.
What I'm saying is, you can't say, you know, you as an officer, just on the surface, they look fine, it's okay.
No, you can't do that. No.
You can't do that. Like,
no, we have a duty of care. So when we get a report involving minors, we must act immediately.
Yeah, you need to ensure.
Yeah, that they get all avenues of justice, social work, medical care, everything. We have to.
So here's the next thing now, because I mean, we probably went over a little too long on the topic.
Yeah.
But because now one of the things parents need to be aware of, because I would have naively thought, oh, you have this talk when they're a teenager maybe, right? But no, because you would think as long as I don't have some deviant person around the family, you know, my child is safe. It's like, no. For one, it might start. I mean, in theory, standard 5.
Yeah.
Potentially, right? But maybe they're distracted by SEA.
Yeah, maybe.
But once SEA is done, all of a sudden, oh, we're big people now.
Yeah.
We want to go big people party. We want to do big people things.
Correct.
Right? And also, responsibilities are 5 years away.
Yeah. And then coupled with our culture is hypersexual, like carnival and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we introduce them into this world from a very young age.
So basically, you had that talk.
Very young.
What, at 10?
Maybe at 5.
Oh my God. I don't know if, you see, I don't know if it's responsible to have it at 5. One of the issues.
I'm not too familiar with what age group.
For different politics, especially abroad, they want to have sexual orientation and sex talks from young. And I'm like, time out. Gay, straight, it don't matter. Anything to do with sex as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Why go there? I mean, listen, one of the interesting things I said about the internet, you know, children might know less. Well, one of the things is, if they don't stumble across certain things, you know, when I was younger, it was very easy to stumble at a certain hour on movies that I should not be watching at a certain hour. So that is, you know, it's like.
Well, the thing is, naturally, mammals have something called mock sex at a very early age. So you would see this amongst children, very young children, where they would actually, from maybe not observing their parents, but from instinctively they would mount each other. And we would have reports where parents would say, oh, well, he's at his father's home on a weekend, and he's probably learning that there.
I have never.
And yeah, we have lots of cases like this.
Never heard of this.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, it's a medical thing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not doubting you.
No, serious.
You literally worked in that department.
No. It's theory that is taught to us.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not doubting you. It's just allow me to be stunned for a moment on a Monday morning.
And then, so then the parent comes to the station or the SVD department and says, listen, he's behaving like this in school, so he has to learn, he had to learn it. The boy or the girl has had to learn it at the other parent's home because we have split custody. So now we have to investigate this because it's a possibility that they learned it somehow, or they were exposed to the sexual behavior. But in theory, children instinctively behave like this at a very young age. If you have nieces and nephews or children, you would see that amongst them. So it's a normal, natural thing.
I mean, I have heard stories. I have literally never seen anything like this amongst my family, right? I have heard families that other people have told me, not necessarily like that, but in a way, this kind of maybe explains it better.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that. But this has caught me totally off guard. And I think it's in part because culturally, this is never brought up, and heaven help the family where something like this might happen for benign reasons, because then how do you explain this to each other, to yourselves, to the kids? I don't know how. All right, we're running out of time. Let's take the comments, switching gears. Thanks, Chris. Good morning. I must say I'm totally enjoying the politics today. A law brought by the PNM, which is Explain Your Wealth, is being used against them. Fabulous. Thanks. I technically can't disagree with this statement. It's just that the context around the specific situation, I have to question how benign it is. But generally speaking, yes, this should be done. It's just that I don't know if it should be a political priority that you say certain things in Parliament and then have to then say, oh, but it's independent. Well, you're kind of undermining independence by your previous statements. But on principle, yes, the law should be applied to equally. And I have no problem if you use this law as intended and deal with whatever. Look, you seek the truth no matter how inconvenient it is. The truth is the truth. And you have to suffer the consequences, deal with the repercussions in order to then be able as a society to move on, right? But I feel this is, unfortunately, you get that at the same time as maybe something else. But we'll see how this thing plays out, both in the court of law and the court of public opinion. And hopefully we are not worse off for it, particularly with regards to the repercussions of the latter. I think, Chris, one of the big issues I have these days is independence, and then you have the independence of the police, and it's back again. It's not a recent thing, but it's just one more issue that the service now, members like yourself, probably gonna have members of the public kind of look at you and, okay, you're a government agent, right? And, you know, some people might have said this on the PNM, now different group of people might have said this on the UNC, and I can't envy you for, I mean, being in this position, but then folks, Chris is like, yeah, but you know, I have a job to do. Like there are a lot of police officers in the United States, when the job got too hard, they said, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, they have options,
Oh, well, I mean, do you really have, if you had an option, would you really take it?
No.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if Trinidad and Tobago is the size of the United States, and you literally could have, with your career and reputation, gone anywhere else, you have literally 50 states worth of cities to say, I could go, maybe even get a promotion, you probably won't leave.
No, I
like you're here, the job is here, the duty is here.
I mean, I got offers, like with airlines and that kind of thing. But
for security and
that kind of thing, but no. I mean, I did criminology and management, so, you know, but I like the policing. I like policing. I mean, there are a number of good officers out there I work with on a daily basis. You know, you only hear about the bad ones, but there's a lot of good officers that you could go to. They would assist you. They would make sure that you get through with everything. Then there are some that don't know how to talk to you, and unfortunately, they don't take the customer service training. We give them to heart, and we need them to behave better. You know, I mean, look, my driver took me to license, and I had a meeting with the transport commissioner. We often talk about this. And when I say my driver, my colleague, a very good colleague, and he drove me that day, and he parked up. So he said there was a bus. We are permitted to park in places that are no parking for everybody else.
Right.
So there was a number of agencies there, police, immigration, and whatnot. So he said he just drove up, and he told the driver of the bus, good day, sir, could you kindly just drive up so I could get a park behind you, because it's limited parking. He said the driver, after they parked and fixed themselves, the driver came out and thanked him for speaking to him like a human being, and he was like, no, that's how I speak, that's how I speak, that's how I operate, I'm a police officer, I'm supposed to speak to you. He said, well, this is not normal police language. He said, because he's experienced police roughing him up and telling him, hey, just move up there and whatnot. And I mean, there are good officers out there. That's just an example.
I think part of the problem with customer service is customers need to understand that it's not always that the individual is bad at customer service. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it's an emotional response to bad customers that were there any day before you. You interact with the public. The police also, you have to face the random chance of all kind of characters and personalities and stuff like that.
Well, historically, we as the TTPS were taught how to behave by our predecessors. So our colonial forefathers. And then the same forefathers moved on to better customer service. But we didn't move on in that direction. So we kept
not in totality.
In totality.
But the thing is,
we want to.
You could see where in our society customer service is a crapshoot. At best.
At best.
Right?
Across the board.
So on some level, while, you know, higher standards, greater expectations, police as opposed to gas station attendants or what have you, the flip side to that is same society. Why are we expecting magically that the people are just going to be, yes, you would like to think, oh, police are just automatically 50% better than everybody else. It's
well,
like,
we are held to highest, because we are held to higher standard, Sean, we should have better customer service.
But you are still humans from Trinidad and Tobago.
Correct,
That is that. If you are a robot, think about how much more work you can get done.
But I mean, we've never said our hands are clean. We have always said that, you know, the purpose of the Media Ambassador program is to build the trust and confidence of persons in the public domain, get the information out to them. We've always come and said, listen, maybe we could have done it better this way, maybe we could have done it better that way, you know. Hopefully we'll get it best, we'll get it done.
The thing with public communications is you'll never get it perfect.
No.
Right? I think the Media Ambassador program is the only public relations arm that I think does a good enough job, in part because you're willing to be regular, consistent, present.
And I mean, there was a caller last week that called and asked about the IOCA warrant and how is it taken out and how is it administered and whatnot in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of what we call when we listen to phone conversations, wiretaps. So anytime the members of the public have any question, whether it be about licensing, we have meetings with a lot of stakeholders. So like right now we're doing the Independence Parade coming up. So we have a lot of stakeholder meetings. You know, every week, every few days we have meetings to get it right. You know, with the move, there's going to be changes this year and whatnot, in terms of security, in terms of the presentation and whatnot. So every few days we have meetings. So we have meetings with top level people in all the stakeholder industries, whether it be teaching, health, policing, licensing, army, whoever. So feel free to call in. If you have a question about something like policing-wise, law-wise, you know, we could try to answer it because we will get the information for you. So don't feel that because, you know, we come here to talk about child safety, you know, drug safety, that kind of thing. We could also talk about other topics.
I think part of it is, it's a shame we can't highlight more of the good. The media could only highlight what it knows, so that's the catch. But part of the trust is so that when officers like ASP Arun comes and he has the, be careful about drugs and have the talk with your kids, it's like, please do not take it for granted, because on some level, I have heard probably most of this before. I'm not a parent, right? But I and all have heard most of this before, both in a capacity as an adult in a capacity as being on the show, and also, of course, as a child, my parents would have imparted some of this on me, obviously, right? But there's something about, listen, police keeps telling people be wary of online sellers and buyers, and people still fall for the scam. What else are they going to do? Are they going to just stop putting out the warnings of it? No, you're going to continue to try to get the message out. And this is one of the things where part of the trust and confidence that, you know, at the very least, you can't just take it for granted, or all police are this, is because when police have important information that you might take for granted, you think you know already, sometimes you need to keep that stuck in your head. Get that little angel on your shoulder to say, hey, pester your child just a little bit more or on this matter. And that could be the difference between your child being safe or you now having to deal with a situation that's going to have permanent effects on your child's life forever and ever and ever and ever. And, you know, there's a lot of stories about real life cases and fictional sources of entertainment that examine the whole butterfly effect of something happens in your child at a young age, and what do they end up, and what kind of regrets. And the thing is, it's one thing if it's an accident, if it's just a legit accident, right? Your child just had an accident, playing sports, injured. Somebody hit him, injured. He didn't drive recklessly. It's another thing if it was something you, worst off now, not the child could prevent, if you as a parent could prevent.
Yeah, the idea, Sean, at the end of the day is a try. We aren't perfect. At the end of the day, we'll never, parents have it very hard now.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe before. And they will never get it proper and perfect. But the idea is to try. At the end of the day, once you've tried and you've done your best, at the end of the day, it's up to God and to them.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing, I think, for parents is to see something happen to your child and to know that you could have done something. There was a reasonable expectation in the moment, not in hindsight, that you could have done something and you didn't. That is the kind of regret I hope to never face, and given the fact that I don't have kids, I probably won't. But yet, all right, fine. But that's basically what we're talking about. You know, like, as you say, things could happen, life could happen, and you have to deal with it. But it's the unforced errors on your own end. That's the kind of regret that's going to chew at you for the rest of your life. Okay. Folks, all right, want to thank the commenter today. I appreciate the sentiment on the comment. And like I said, I can't disagree with the basic principle behind the comments, right? My opinion goes a little bit more. I wouldn't say that it contradicts yours. And on some level, I actually also appreciate, how to say this, how much you're enjoying the moment. Because to be fair, I have enjoyed similar moments, and a part of me will enjoy the irony of you grandstanding on a piece of legislation and then being caught by it in hindsight, right? Hey, turn around is fair game. I just hope more politicians will kind of realize that, not with regards to don't put laws in place, but rather don't break the law and then think that the other side can't break the law either. But let me not get into that. Chris, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Extensive topic, and I guess there's more to the series as we're on the July-August/summer vacation. So just remember, when we get to the Independence Day, there'll also be some stuff about that as well, I could imagine, because that will have its own unique circumstances. But until then, this is Talking About WSN. Sean Michael Small reminding you, stay safe, remember your allegiance to the Republic and to each other. Do not forget, it's nice to be nice. Look, ASP Roon just gave us an example of a police officer, not even necessarily being nice, but just being normal, courteous human being to another human, and look at the response that he got in return. That can also happen for the rest of us with everyday human interaction. So pay it forward. Stay safe. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.
WESN.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Welcome, everybody. Let's just tell you what's happening around here at this time.